All right, welcome back. We are doing a quick comparison video between Qwen 3.8 27B and Qwen 3.6 35B. Qwen 3.6 is currently my local AI model of choice for doing any small tasks, any kind of day-to-day work. And it's great. I ran it for quite a bit now and no complaints. It's very quick. I can be able to kind of chat back and forth with it. I can also kind of give it some agentic work through either kind of Hermes or OpenClaw, or even through like funneling it through like Claude Code, for example, and able to do stuff privately on my local AI machine without any complaints. With the release of Qwen 3.8 27B, there is a lot of hype around it. Obviously, it's a very large model, and its fame to claim is being able to be quantized down into sizes that will fit a normal gaming GPU, even though it's kind of the higher end, like the 5090s gaming GPU. That does make it slightly more accessible to folks. And I use accessible with quotes here because GPU prices are just getting out of control every single day. I was lucky enough to buy this unified memory rig months ago before the RAM prices started jumping up. So I am considered kind of an outlier here. I think most people are not going to buy a fully decked out Mac Studio or have any kind of Ryzen strict Halo builds, or even like a DJX Spark for that matter. However, I wanted to do a direct comparison for my use case. This is a selfish video, my curiosity, and I kind of want to share the results with you on the new Qwen 3.8 27B model and see where it shines and where it kind of lacks. And at least in its current configuration. So yeah, let me go ahead and share the numbers. So right off the bat, some housekeeping rules. This is the BF16 model. So it is comparing kind of apples to oranges here, because we have Qwen 3.8 27B at BF16 with essentially all those parameters active. Right off the bat, you see that it is objectively slower, the Qwen 3.6, because the Qwen 3.6 model that I am running only has about 3 billion active parameters. So we're getting about 3x token generation in terms of speed. This, in my expectation, is highest quality, but like the worst possible performance in terms of tokens per second. The whole exam, and I'm talking about 4 benchmarks, took almost an hour for Qwen 3.8, 58 minutes. And then Qwen 3.6 was able to just do that in under 14 minutes. Opus, throwing that in there as a wild card. There's a lot of claims that Qwen 3.8 27B beats out Opus 4.6. So I wanted to throw it in there as a wild card. Obviously, this is a cloud-based system, so all these numbers are just subjective, and it costs me about $7 in API tokens to run this test. So first question when you see this table here is like, why is Qwen 3.8 27B so slow? Like this, for most people, 8 tokens per second is effectively non-usable. And I actually did get a comment on the previous day's video where someone did mention that it is excessively slow. This is like a user error, right? This is me configuring an environment with the model without any lower quantization. This is as like raw as it gets in terms of tokens per second on my specific build. There is optimizations we can make. And in fact, the next video I'm going to make will be me going down to the lower quants. One, in terms of like feasibility to store the model on smaller hardware, and 2, in terms of like trying to increase the performance of these tokens per second. So that's a video to come. I'll most likely work on that tomorrow and run the benchmarks overnight. And then we can kind of get a direct comparison to see if we can make Qwen 3.8 27B at these smaller quantizations a lot more runnable as a daily driver. So yeah, take all of these numbers with a grain of salt. These are just my initial kind of testing, and there's way more to come from this. And I put a little disclaimer here. I wrote this in the comment as well. Essentially, it's taking the massive model, and it has to read about 55 gigabytes per token at 256 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. You really do cap out at that 5 to 9 tokens per second, no matter how much RAM is there. Realistically, the more memory you have in your system, it just allows you to fit that kind of model a little bit nicer. But the actual quantization and the bandwidth is what makes them fast. So we will talk more about the technical terms of that in the next video. I want to go ahead and just jump to the benchmark results here. So right off the bat, we're competing against Qwen 3.8 versus Qwen 3.6. And I'll go ahead and open, this is the prompt that was fed directly to them. This one is essentially a Tetris clone. And let's go ahead and just directly compare Qwen 3.8 to Qwen 3.6. Right off the bat, even though I specifically did not tell it to call it Tetris, it actually called it Tetris, which I was trying to avoid any copyright issues, but here we are. Let's go ahead and just give it a quick play and see how it runs. So right off the bat, we have shapes. Does the shape switching work? Yep. And does the slam work? Yep. Ooh, interesting. You slam, but you can still move around. Looks like it's like a slight delay. Can we go down here? Yep. So yeah, it looks like this is working pretty well. Let me see if I just make a quick line. Yep, it clears it. And there's some animations involved. So this is pretty nice. Right off the bat, this is more than a pass. It even gave the trademark name, even though I didn't specify it. Looks like there's levels and there's an active score. Let's see if it gives us a good score here. A little bit delayed, but yeah, it's updating the score in real time. Some particle effects. Does R work? Yep, R works. And if I refresh the page, I believe it just brings me to the start menu. Yeah, totally passable. This is good. This is Qwen 3.6, and right off the bat, it started the game without any title screen. So that's already kind of a ding. Let's test the slow fall. Yep, this works well. The slam, less overall polished in the UI front, but this is working. This is a functional game. No issues there. Let me go ahead and create a line here. Yeah, it disappeared. And we do see the score going up. Let me just make another line and confirm that. Yep, looks like it's working just fine. And don't judge me on my Tetris gameplay. I'm not the best. Totally playable. We have no title screens. We have no naming. And let me see if pause works. P. Ooh, nice. So having a pause button is pretty nice. Did this have a pause button? I don't think it did. Let me see if P does anything. Nope, no pause button. So you got to keep going once you start. So yeah, and then let's just take a look as wildcard Opus 4.6. This looks a lot like Qwen 3.6. So this is closer to that than it is 3.8. So actually, I'm gonna have to give it to 3.8 here. Qwen 3.6 was, functional. This is actually cleaner than 3.6, but it's not cleaner than 3.8. Let me go ahead and make a Tetris here to make sure that the lines work. Can we get a bar, please? There's a bar. Oh, no animations, no explosions. So yeah, is it functional? Yeah. Is there P? Nope. Is there R? Yep. Restart does work. No title screen. So if we had to rank these three, I would say 3.8 wins overall. I would like it to have a pause menu, but this works pretty well. And then I would say 3.6 is the next runner up. And then actually Opus 4.6 is last in this opinion. So for this, we're going to go ahead and give it to 3.8 as being the winner. All right. Next, we did an eruption volcano simulator, essentially. And you can read the prompt here if you want to pause the video. Essentially, we're looking for simulation of objects and ensuring that it runs well in the browser. These are all kind of one-shot HTML prompts. So let's go ahead and take a look. This is Qwen 3.8. And it looks like it says charging. We have some sliders, wind, particle amounts. We got a frame per second counter. Does that actually dip? Yeah, it does go up and down. Looks like it's rolling off some magma there. And we have actually a trigger explosion button and reset pressure. Let's see if we bump these up. What happens? Do we get some drops in frames per second? Not much, but we do have a bunch of particles being spewed out of the volcano. It's interesting that some particles are kind of going uphill here. This is a little weird, but like this is a little off, right? But does it work? Is it a clean UI? Yeah, it's pretty clean. Let's look at 3.6s. And all right, this looks a little weird. Let me refresh this. Yeah, so the shape of the volcano is not as nice. It looks like we're missing some land mass here. And it's not really doing any like roll down physics. And let's bump up some stuff here and see what happens. The frames per second counter does go down, so it does seem to be working. And yeah, the wind does seem to work as well. But yeah, not as clean, I would say. This is Opus here. See, this is nice. It has some actual downhill effects. Doesn't kind of roll uphill like 3.8 did. Let's add some wind to the mix. Does that actually shift it? Let's get some more particle effects in here. Yeah, don't really see the wind changing anything. Let's go the other way and see. Yeah, it's slightly. So it is kind of going left and right. The frames per second seems to be consistent all the way around. Let me bump everything up and see what happens. Make sure this is working. Seems to be pretty stagnant. All right, since we're comparing 3.8 to 3.6, I would say 3.8 objectively looks way better. And I do like the additional features of having the triggers and the reset and the particle counters. Whereas I think Qwen 3.6 is doing a little bit more, but they didn't get the actual design of it correct. Honestly, I think if we had to declare a winner, Opus technically won this round, even though this is the cleanest version in terms of like completion, right? This actually flows downhill, whereas this one, it's doing some weirdness here. Yeah, it's like flowing in weird directions. Let me just confirm that one more time. I mean, yeah, it does flow down, but it looks like it's going a certain direction. Maybe the wind is like taking it. Yeah, not sure. Let me just zero it out and see what happens. Yeah, maybe the wind is like being impacting like a lot. It's going to the right. Let's see if it goes to the left. Yeah, I don't really know what this is going on. So this looks nicer. Technically, this is more accurate, but this just looks way worse. Like it just looks way worse. I don't know. This is all subjective, right? Like this is nice. Like this is not shippable in my opinion at its current state. This is definitely not shippable in my current opinion. I think technically Opus wins in this one, but since I'm only comparing the two models, I'm gonna go ahead and compare. I'm gonna give it to Qwen 3.8 in terms of actually winning this round. All right. Next prompt, we essentially gave it a bunch of numbers and this kind of ledger, ask it to create some tables and some summaries and try to trip it up in a few areas by using names that need to be normalized as well as multiple formats. And the goal was to get this correct, get the numbers, everything, and then give me a nice presentation essentially. Wow. So this is my first time kind of looking at these results and this looks real clean. There's like this nice little effect here. I did not ask it to do that. So this has like a sales op review. Everything is formatted well. This obviously is AI generated, no doubt about it. Like the formatting screams AI generated. But let me just grab my chart over here off the screen and 16, 91, 20. Yeah, this is correct. 31, 1, 3, 27. Yep, all these numbers are accurate. And then the total 3283 flat. Yeah, so it got all the numbers right. So did not get tripped up in any of that. It got the raw numbers directly from there and then generated it correctly. So yeah, no issues there. And then very clean. Does the chart look good? 16K above 8 is 9. And then 6 is below 8. Yeah, chart looks like it's aligned as well. A little bit, could be centered better, but this works well. Let's look at 3.6. So right off the bat, they went with light mode. And let's just do the quick validation of the numbers before we talk about how it looks. So 16, 91, 26. Yeah, same numbers. 32, 83. Yep, numbers right. 31, 1, 3, 27. Yep, same. And then take a look at these charts. So more kind of scale chart here and 6K, 7K. Yeah, so the chart does look pretty accurate. And again, it did some centering, so that was nice. All right, honest, like one-to-one, this does not look as nice as this, right? But it did add an additional kind of trends dashboard, which is different between Q1 and Q2. There's very little change, but it's not very useful, but it did add a chart and I didn't tell it to do this. So right off the bat, in terms of like shippability and cleanliness, I think this wins. And then let's just look at Opus for fun here. Opus 4.6, better than 3.6, honestly, in terms of how it looks. Let's just validate the scores here. 3, 1, 3, 27, 32, 8, 3, 0, even. 16,000. That seems off. Nope, it's right. 91, 26. Charting looks good. Yeah, so if I had to rank these in order, I'll give it to 3.8, then then I'll give it to Opus 4.6, and then Qwen 3.6. But since we're only doing A and B, let's go ahead and give that to Qwen 3.8. I'm glad that neither one of them got stumped up on basic data validation and cleanup. That's a positive note there. And then finally, this was kind of for the memes. Essentially, give it a SVG code requirement to draw something. I gave it this description. Go ahead and pause the video if you want to read it. Essentially, it's a dog with a forklift in a house. And let's see what they came up with. So, all right. So everything on the screen is correct. I made sure to tell it specifically to have it on the plane and a house in the background. So objectively, this is correct. There's a little bit weirdness with the body and the head and the nose. Other than that, and then these buttons being off the screen on the server racks, I would say that this is sort of passable with some minor edits. This is Qwen 3.6 and definitely a lot less mature. Technically, wheels on the ground for the forklift. Interesting, the controls are in the back and passable. It still has the detached head problem, and the buttons of the server are kind of not aligned, but and they're not really on the forklift. But are the assets required for the image on the page? Yeah, technically. And then this for fun, let's go ahead and look at Opus 4.6. Right off the bat, this dog looks a lot better. Looks like an actual dog. This forklift doesn't quite look like a forklift, but it is driving it. And there is a house in the background. It's on solid foundation, and the server actually looks good. So yeah, ranking them 1, 2, 3. Opus 4.6 wins this one, and then I would categorize Qwen 3.8, and then I would categorize 3.6. This just looked a lot nicer. If I had to pick one or the other, it would have to be 3.8. So let's go ahead and give it to 3.8. So yeah, overall scoreboard, Qwen 3.8 wins in all areas in terms of these specific selfish benchmarks that I ran. It created a better looking game. It simulated the physics, although it did kind of falter here. And it did create a really nice presentation from the CSV file, and technically created a better looking dog and overall image. So yeah, log video. Obviously, there's more to come from this. This 8.8 tokens per second is a cause for concern. I'm not thrilled with it, but I do know this is user config, and let's go ahead and do some benchmarking on these lower quantization levels. And obviously there's going to be some more enhancements and things that come out of this, and I'm excited for that. But as it stands right now, I'm going to keep 3.635B active as my local kind of Hermes default AI model for now, until we see some more results. And it might be as soon as the next video here. So yeah, thanks for joining. I'll go ahead and link the models that I used down in the video below. I'll go ahead and link some articles and some news posts about this release if you have any more questions, as well as some previous videos we've done on Qwen 3.8. I'll catch you tomorrow. I am actively finishing a download now for these smaller quants, and I hope to get those benchmarks running overnight, and hopefully we'll have some better results for you tomorrow. So thanks for joining. Have a good one.